You're listening to Edge Radio TV. The views and opinions expressed in this program are that of the hosts or guests, and not the Edge Radio Network or its advertisers or affiliates.
Hello, TGIF. Welcome to the Women's Empowerment segment here on Edge Radio TV Network. I'm your host, Nicole Giddens, health and fitness expert. I have my co-host here, L. Brooke White, entrepreneur extraordinaire and owner of her own notary business that she's really trying to put out there. Do you want to say anything to anybody about that real quick?
Oh, sure.
You were just telling me.
Well, I mean, I've been extremely busy, but yes, anyone that ever needs a notary for any type of closing, I am available, and I make it.
How can they get in touch with you so they can get their own personal notary?
Email me at brookewhite.texasrealtor@gmail.com. Brooke with an E, and Texas is TX. You can email me or call me, 936-235-1163.
She'll come to your house. She'll get the job done. So
I will, yes.
That's right. It's nice to have a motorized,
the mobile notary thing. Yes, it's so convenient for so many people. They can't get out. They have babies, things like that. Or, they just don't want to go to a title company. So that is what we are here for. It's been pretty busy and it's been pretty nice. So I love what I do. And I make the process not as dull
and excruciating.
It's not excruciating with me. It's like, this was fun.
She'll bring the bacon.
I do, yes. I love my bacon.
And she's COVID compliant.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Well, we keep it candid and we keep it fun, but today we have a topic that is going to be a little bit heartbreaking to hear, and then a story that you can really turn the pain into a true purpose. I have my sister-in-law here today, and I've always admired her so much on how strong she is. Yeah. She's such a beautiful person, such a great mother, such a godly woman, and I get to show her off to everybody today, so I'm really looking forward to having her on the show. I was looking up the statistics. So our topic today is pedophilia and child abuse, and due to COVID, the child abuse and maltreatment for children has increased by 10%, according to national studies. It's really, really, really sad.
Yes.
And we know that the sex trafficking arena has really, really increased. And I don't know if it's so much that it's taken so much of an increase, or if it's the internet and social media that's just made it more apparent. But it's a true problem amongst, the children getting abducted and just a lot of people getting abducted in general.
People any age. Like I tell my kids, I'm like, they'll take me too. They'll take any of us. They don't think they discriminate on age or race or at all. They don't discriminate. They'll take anybody.
Oh yeah.
And that's the reality of it. So it's not just your children anymore.
No, it's everybody.
Was, but
and you have to carry protection, and you have to protect your children, and you have to have boundaries and limitations for your kids.
Yes.
And there's also people out there that can be a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Absolutely.
And they can manipulate.
And you would never ever think that person would do something like that.
And you truly need to know the signs.
Yeah, sometimes they're so blatant that they're there, but you don't see them. It's crazy.
Well, because it's so unbelievable that someone would want to do that to such an innocent human being. A child is so pure and so innocent, and there's not much worse you could really do to somebody.
For someone that doesn't think on those lines, that's like, wow. You know what I mean? How could you do that to anybody? But that's in there. That's how they think. It's so gross.
And your mindset, I guess you can't really share that with others if you're thinking about those things and having those urges. You're not going to tell your best friend. You're not going to tell your mom. You're not going to tell your sister. You're not going to tell your brother. You're just going to have these urges, and then one day you can't take it anymore and react upon it. There's some say that there's no rehabilitation for it, and then there's some arguments that say that if people could be more comfortable bringing it to the front, that they could get rehabilitation. I'm not sure. It doesn't go inside my head. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know.
I don't think there's any rehabilitation for someone that is a child pedophile or a pedophile, period. Like, I mean, I just don't understand
how you could hurt something so pure. It's so sad that we're dealing with it in such a predominant level these days.
Yeah.
It's a really, really sad
thing. The reality of it is that people think, when they think of pedophilia, they think of, oh, the scary monster down the road, or the stranger, or, you know, just someone that looks bad. But it's more than likely people in your everyday area.
93%.
Yeah.
93%.
And you would never know.
Predators.
You just would never think. And you would, and they are around your kids. They're around your family. They're your neighbors. They're your everybody that you could think of.
And a lot of times they have a stature or a criteria in life. They hold some type of authoritative figure where they're over the sports leagues. They're a
coaches,
youth pastor.
Exactly. They're in the
churches.
There's
somebody that you feel like you can trust.
Oh, always. And they gain everyone's trust. That's the scary part of it. They are in the middle of the mix. Oh yeah, and they definitely the kids. But they gain the adults, trust too, to get to the kids. And it's just it's twisted. And it's pure manipulation at its finest, in all reality.
They're saying 1 out of 5 girls and 1 out of 20 boys it'll happen to in a lifetime.
Yes.
So there's so much more to cover.
Yes.
And the story that we're going to talk about today is, it's for mature audiences only.
Yes.
We're going to take our first break. And when we come back, I'm going to have my beautiful sister-in-law here. So you guys stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
No.
EDGE is about community, synergy, and empowerment.
The responsibility be on this. Should we have had a national plan, or should
that the government needs to get out of the way and let people figure it out?
What do you do for your face?
So I do have a skincare line called Infinity Skincare. And welcome back to How You Living on Edge Radio Live. So to
Jennifer, I'm just saying bye, and I'm out.
Peace.
Can't say we not working, okay?
You cannot say we not working.
Say that we are.
No, they're just ready to get back out there and start sexing up other people.
Yeah.
That we weren't interested in any silver medals. If they wanted to give us the gold medal that we earned.
各位亲爱的观众，我是富卡，今天又到了我们
It's a hotel kind of vibe.
Well, I mean,
we're
sure,
turning
I
down
don't
to
hear
say,
you
here's the
complaining
dinner, man.
about the cheap
sensation cocktail. This is our first mixed cocktail. We have.
Three.
very good margarita.
Folks, as always, this is like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're going to get, right? So to the Edge Radio Network, we are going to be bringing you continuous, interesting conversations, interesting encounters, interesting experiences, education, knowledge, and a lot of laughs and a lot of fun, folks. So you don't want to miss it. So
when people stop talking to each other, society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm your co-host, Brooke White, and we have our awesome hostess with the mostest, Nicole Giddens. And I would love to introduce this strong woman here, Mariah Giddens.
Hola.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So,
how are you doing?
good.
Yeah.
Are you nervous?
I'm a little nervous, but I'm good.
We have some intense stuff today, y'all. So
Yeah. So this situation that happened to you, this was someone that you had married and had children with,
Yes.
correct? And tell me the first time something came arise and what was exposed and just how the whole situation was handled. Where did it all begin?
You know, I guess there was always red flags, but he's very charming, good looking, very intelligent man. He struggled with drugs, like hardcore drugs. And so I always can see the good in people. So, he brought me in the church, brought me back to God, helped me with the death. I met him a few years after my mom had died, so he helped me in the healing process of that. And then, there was different things that I seen, but I didn't see it. Kind of like you were saying.
Exactly.
Like, no way. This can't be real. It can't be real.
Yeah,
you second guess yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got pregnant young. We got married. And then a month after marriage, a 12-year-old girl came forth and said that she was raped by him. And he got picked up, and we were only been married a month, and he was picked up, and I'm naive. I'm 19 at this time, just married, pregnant. My mom had passed. I didn't have anybody. So I was really close with his family, which they're really good people.
They're all, they run a church.
They're very good people, but he just had some demons that he was struggling with. Mm-hmm. And, it got thrown out for lack of evidence. Yeah. So I'm assuming,
right.
everything's good. And then, we just had it was a very trauma marriage, mm-hmm. Because dealing with someone that's on hardcore drugs,
they're not in the right mind.
No, in and out of the home. It was a lot for my kids to go through. And then I filed for divorce 9 years later because it was just too much with the
up and down of the
up
drug
and down,
abuse
in and out of the kids' lives.
He would do good for a while and then fall back off.
He went to rehab several times. He did some prison time. I waited on him, but it was just a yo-yo, and it wasn't good for me. No. It wasn't good for my kids because I wasn't healthy emotionally to be the best mom that I could be because I was a hot mess. So I had compassion towards him because I wanted him to get better because in sickness and in health it's your vows, and
you meant yours.
That was his sickness, was the drugs. Mm-hmm. But at some point, God told me to step out of the boat. And you're in a storm, sometimes you got to get out of the boat and walk on the water. And that, I don't think that everybody should just go get a divorce because your marriage is hard. But for me, at that moment, it was time for me to get out of the boat. I did everything I was supposed to do. Nothing was working. So I filed for a divorce, and it was a month or two after the divorce was finalized. He had been living with this girl and her daughter, and he had started coming back around a lot, but only not to see the kids, only at nighttime, and wanting to hang out with me. And I kept, why aren't you with your girlfriend, and he was saying that there was issues, and then he just was acting weird. And I knew he was struggling back on drugs. And he confessed to me that he did something to his girlfriend's daughter. And at that moment, it didn't even hit me that about the 12-year-old girl.
Right.
I totally, it was too much. It was in shock because I do see good in this person, but then this happened, and I had to make a hard decision to turn him into the police, which I was always there for him no matter what he did, but you can't enable somebody's behavior. And at the end of the day, who are you going to protect? Children or a grown man that if you don't have control over your own body and your own evil urges, you need to be put away.
Exactly.
We need to protect our children at all costs. And if you're a single mother, you're 40% more likely to bring somebody into your home to harm your children.
Yeah.
And as a single mother now, I mean, even though I was married, I was basically a single mother the entire time. Let's be honest. But you have to do whatever it takes to protect your children. If that means you're single until your children are grown, hey, I mean, that's pretty much what I've done to protect my children. Because people will put on this front and, you know, you think, oh man, they're just, you know, and they'll do the unthinkable. I mean, we're people. We all have a good side to us and a bad side to us. Like I was telling you, we have 2 dogs. Which one are we feeding? Are we feeding the good side or the evil side? And unfortunately, you know, he had some issues and he knew what was right, but he traded in the truth for a lie. And he harmed this little girl, and the mother knew.
She knew the whole time?
She found out because the little girl told her. And
she didn't allow it. Or do you know? Like, she just kind of didn't stop.
She told him to leave.
Right.
But she was still in contact with him.
Right.
She didn't want to turn him in. She
no.
wanted, you know. And my first thought was, me and her can merge together to protect. Right. Even though we had issues because she was with him.
Like certainly the mother is going to stick up.
Right.
For
I mean, that's what you would expect.
I didn't care about anything about
at that moment.
All I cared about was her child.
Right.
Because even though nothing happened to my children, thank God, but it's still somebody's baby.
Right.
And, you know, there's a scripture that says that if you don't speak up for those that don't have a voice, you know, that's what we're called to do, is speak up for those that don't have a voice. And I had to say something, but even though it was hard because you married this person, you have children with him, you don't want to say to your kids years later, well, I turned your father in, you know. But if I didn't, what would have happened? What could have happened to my baby?
Or anybody else's child.
Yes, and not just, you know, of course my children, but other children too. And to the fact that this little girl made an outcry to her mom, her dad, and her grandma, and nobody said anything, I knew that I had to say something. Because if I didn't say something, this could continue. And then what if it happened to my daughter? And then the blood would be on my hands. And I've never shared this story publicly because I love his family and I don't want to hurt them. And for my children's sake, you know, they're older now. So
you have such amazing kids.
Oh, yes.
I'm so proud of my nephews and
yeah,
niece.
they're pretty awesome.
Yeah, you're doing an amazing job.
You really are.
Yes. Thank you. It's God's help for sure.
Amen. Yeah. I'm right there with you, sister.
But you know, at this time, he's still in prison, and you know, when you go through things in life, you can either get bitter or you can get better.
Amen.
And the only way that I could get better is to lean on God for me, and to give me strength to get through. So
yeah, definitely,
because it was very difficult.
Well, it's very brave for you to come on here, and so many people need to hear it. And it happened to me when I was a child, and the first thing that they tell you when they do it to you is don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's either a threat or they put the guilt on you, like you can't say anything, or they make it try to sound like it's okay, like well, this is okay because I'm only 7 years older than you, so you know I'm gonna do this to you, you know. Or if it's an adult, they'll threaten the child, you know, if you better not say anything, you know, I'll deny it or whatever else. And it's hard for these kids. Statistics will show that if a true child, if they don't go through true healing, they'll turn to drugs, they'll have depression, PTSD will set into their nervous system. You just can't help it. You went through major trauma.
It will rewire
it's a trauma that will always
brain.
be there.
Yeah.
And a child has to walk around feeling guilty because this happened to them and they don't want to expose a family member or a neighbor or a cousin or whoever that did this to them. Yeah. So it's a big time problem, and we all need to recognize the red flags. And if there's ever a chance that you might second guess it, man, start doing your research, you know? Because you just don't know with people anymore.
No,
it's
you
a
don't.
Scary, scary time. It's an evil time that we live in.
It is.
We're going to come back. We're going to continue on a little bit more with this story, and then we're going to talk about how she's turning this pain into purpose. So you guys stay tuned. There's a happy end to this story.
Aren't you tired of not getting what you want in bed?
Are you ready to spice things up behind those closed doors?
Woo! We're here for you every hump day at 7 p.m.
This is Sex on the Edge with Jen and Hen. I'm Jennifer Reeves.
And I'm Hendrik Scott, and we are professional licensed sex therapists.
So remember to watch us Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Edge Radio TV, just in time for sexy time.
Welcome back to the Women's Empowerment segment here on Edge Radio TV Network. I'm your host, Nicole Giddens. I have my co-host here, L. Brooke White, and we have our guest, Mariah Giddens. And we were talking about her survivor story and just, you know, things that had happened. And if there's anything that you could tell anybody about like a possible red flag, I mean, besides a kid trying to come and explain it to everybody, like some things that you might have seen or some things that people can look for or anything?
Well, definitely anybody that's manipulative and trying to emotionally manipulate you. Whenever there's a lots of ups and downs, whenever they do something that is hurtful to you or deceiving to you, but then they come in and do something romantic right away to try to make you forget what has happened. That's a way of, because it triggers your brain into two different I can't remember the names of the endorphins that it releases, but it sends you into a trauma and you actually become addicted to it because it's two different highs and lows.
I've seen that with
a trauma
people.
bond.
It's
a trauma bond.
And you become, it's a high and then it's a low, and then it's a high and then it's a low. I mean, anybody that steals your peace, first of all, walk away.
Amen.
But I mean, there were so many. But you don't notice it until you step out of it.
You don't.
Because you're in it. But also listen to those around you.
Yeah.
You know, you'll know deep within you.
I want to add, I have a story, but I don't want to go too deep. But I will say on the red flags, anybody that's an adult that is always with the children and they're never hanging out with the adults anywhere, or they're always they're always like, well, I'll babysit, I'll do this.
And it just seems like abnormal.
Always there, but you never realize it.
I mean,
like you think it's a good deed, but when you step out of it, then you're like, that was weird. Because grown men don't hang out with the kids at barbecues most of the time. They might throw the football, but they're not with the adults. Those are flags.
And if it happens to a child that you know, this is also very important. I was molested by my cousin, and it was a girl. She was getting molested. So she would come over, and then, so they need help. They need help. If you know that this has happened to them, they need help because they don't know how else to project the hurt.
I will say that if any kid comes to you and says, or if they're acting in a different way and they're being more sexual, wetting the bed, like things like that, there's something happening to that kid no matter who's doing it. Like there's something going on there, so you have to research, you have to dig. You have to figure it out.
It's better to say something than not to say anything.
Every time.
Even if you were wrong,
you just apologize. You're just trying to figure it out.
You would better be safe than sorry and protect a child.
There's a tactful way you can address situations too. You can do it privately. You don't have to make a big loud noise about it. You can take one individual to the side privately that you can maybe confide into that situation and try to rectify the situation and stop and create some solutions so that it doesn't have to continue on from generation to generation.
Yes. And that's a thing. You have to break the generational, some people say cycle, I say curses.
I'm good with that one.
There's different curses in everybody's family, whatever, everybody says, oh, well, my dad or my mom, had that, so that's going to be, no, it's up to you to break those chains off your family and to start something new and fresh. You don't have to be just like your mom or just like your dad. You start new and fresh and allow God to make a path for your life so that you can be better and not bitter and not be what environment you were raised in. You can be better than that. I definitely agree with that.
And they say out of every 1,000 sexual assaults, only 310 are actually reported to the police.
And I'll touch base on that, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. The reason why is because our justice system fails us every day. And they definitely fail our children when it comes to anything with this. If it's not a slam dunk, you're going to prison, it's dismissed. If there's no DNA, it's dismissed. Don't mind that a child says that this happened over and over to all these people. The justice system fails us. So most people won't report it after that because they don't want to be failed.
And I also think nobody wants to report it because it's like nobody wants, it's like
it's a burden. It's they feel like that, but it's not.
So evil. You don't want to even bring it up.
You don't.
But it is something that needs to be discussed. I think you should talk to your children about not just adults, but like you said, your cousin. There's kids that are harming other kids because they don't know any better.
Which is true because it's a trickle down effect.
To them.
Exactly.
And it's just a sick cycle
that keeps going. Yes. And then they grow up and then they're adults and it's
and if you don't ever talk to your kids about, don't let, because they'll call it a different game.
Yes.
Say
it's a different name.
Yes.
The anatomy is something that I would say also, don't ever be afraid to teach your children the anatomy at a very young age because that is something that it's just better for them to know your body parts. There's nothing wrong with that at a young age for them to know. They need to know.
On their level.
Their level in a very, mature way. But, they need to be able to say, oh, they touched me here and call it the correct name. Because
so that something can be done.
And then they cannot say, well, that's not what we call that. That's a toy.
Yeah.
Okay, and flip it around. Like
manipulate
the situation because they can.
And boys are very important too because they're saying the 1 out of 20 boys it happens under the age of 10 when it happens to these boys.
And it happens.
So it's an uncomfortable conversation you have to have with your toddler, but just as long as they understand that that's private, and if anybody else touches that besides mommy or doctor with mommy in the room, then it's just not okay.
Right.
You know
what
I
mean? Also say only for a bath, and not for just a wash you, like things like that.
You have to go into detail because the bath is the main place where that it happens, and you definitely have to teach your children that extra whatever is not extra cleaning. So they need to know. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with teaching your 2-year-old, 2.5. I mean, give them a wash rag.
Yeah, let them
do
themselves.
it.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. And I did it with my
early
2
habit
girls.
to learn. Well,
Exactly. I
did
did it with both my girls as their mother who gave birth to them. So any man that or anybody else that's touching them down there in a bath after a certain age is
and it's
extra. And it's not
nowadays it's not just, and I think this has always been, but like you said, the internet and everything is being more exposed and people are actually talking about it now. When back in the day they just swept everything under the rug. Oh, just everybody stay away from Uncle so-and-so. No, Uncle so-and-so's
he ain't coming to the barbecue no more.
He's not invited.
He's not invited.
He ain't invited to the cookout.
You ain't coming, don't come.
No. Yeah, but
what happened to Uncle so-and-so?
We don't know no more.
What's that?
But it's even women. Women are even doing
women
this
are involved just as much. We have to stress that.
Yes,
they
and
really are.
We want to put it all on men, but there are women that are.
I mean, hello, Epstein's girlfriend. Let's be real.
Yes.
Okay, I'm serious. Women are just as involved. They run it. They make the children feel secure. I mean, I know people that have swept those things under the rug, and I can't look at them the same anymore because how?
Yes.
How? You know, and it's just devastating because no one, their truth should be heard. Like you should, in your truth.
You shouldn't protect the person that's the predator from the person that's been victimized.
Exactly.
I saw it happen with my own 2 eyes. A girl I was best friends with for years, from the time she was 3 to 16, was molested. And finally, when she said something, she was put in a mental institution.
Exactly.
That is just so wrong on so many different levels. Like, you don't worry about protecting your family name at this point.
Who cares about that?
What is wrong with these people? I don't understand.
I know.
But I was going to ask you, how much time do we have before break? We got 3 minutes. Okay, when we come back from break, we're going to go into it because you got a hold of that 12-year-old girl and you were able to have a conversation with her. We're not going to name any names, but that had to have been very healing for you.
Wow.
So we'll brush a little bit upon that.
That's
and so you guys stay tuned. When we come from break, we'll continue on with this conversation.
The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and you know, sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information.
And you know, my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. You know, I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes a move. Okay,
Tune into Natural Nation every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Don't push me because I'm close to the edge.
I'm trying not to lose my head.
Hey, this is the Talk About Unity show where I bring the talk.
And I bring the unity.
And together we talk about unity. Unity is what matters.
Come on.
And right now in our country, that's what we've got to do. So we do that here at Talk About Unity on the Edge Radio Network. Be with us every week.
It's going to be awesome. It always is. And I tell you what, the more we seek first to understand, then be understood, we make progress.
And we like to do that. And that's why everybody's on the brink. We love what we do at Edge Radio because everybody's on the edge. We bring them back from the edge and we bring the unity. So we're just glad to Edge Radio Network every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Talk about unity because here at Edge Radio Network, truth still matters.
Welcome back to the Women's Empowerment segment here on Edge Radio TV Network. We're continuing on this conversation with Miss Mariah Giddens. She has a survivor story of a loved one of hers that caused some harm to some people, and so we're turning her pain into purpose. You got a hold of that 12-year-old girl.
Yeah, 10 years later, when the next victim came along, it made that case pop back up, which I had totally forgot about. The DEA had reached out and said, hey, you were married at the time that this first case happened. And I was like, oh, like it totally then hit me. Like everything started coming together. It was like God removed the blinders off my eyes and I just seen like 20/20 vision. Yeah. And, you know, he asked me some questions about what happened. And then I told him, you know, what I had heard from, you know, him. And then he called me again later and said, hey, she wants your contact information, you know, or something along that lines. And then so we actually spoke through Facebook Messenger, and she wanted to meet with me. And she actually came over. And I think it was very healing for me and for her.
Absolutely.
My heart goes out to her. She told me her story and what he did to her. And I just felt like a mother to her, even, you know.
Right.
It was
motherly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just wanted to pray for her, and I keep her in my prayers all the time. It was a very beautiful moment for us to, you know, she wanted to know if he was a monster or, you know, like, because in her eyes, that's what he was because of what he did. And because she was 12 and he was 20. And I know that's real popular, you know, now, like for young girls to get with. I remember when I was that age, dating older, and you don't realize, but it's so important for us to tell our girls that just because they're 18, 19, 20, no, it's not okay.
Even a freshman to a senior. I like that a lot of high schools have the freshman campuses now because I really feel like that's a big age difference.
It is.
At that age, it is. It's only 4 years, but at that immature age, it's a lot.
It's
really
different when you're 24 and the guy's 30 or something.
Right.
But
you've been an adult for a couple years.
But when you're
you can legally
like my husband.
It's
but
definitely
anyway.
different. And as a mother, I look back. I mean, yes, I had boyfriends that were older than me, and it didn't seem like nothing because I was I'm like, oh no,
no. And it's not the same day and age anymore.
That's the thing. It's completely different.
It maybe never even was.
No, it was never okay. But it was just
we were young and immature, and we were young and immature.
Yeah.
So if any time that there's a time to start really setting up boundaries for our kids and coming together as parents and in a community is now. You know.
Absolutely.
I mean, my kids, they're not going to be allowed to go to those parties. They're going to be mad at me.
My
but
kids
I'm
already
sorry.
are mad at me about everything.
They can stay mad.
That's my job.
They can stay mad.
They can.
Yeah.
I don't
they can hate me now and love me later.
I'll save their life.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
How about that?
And if it's happened to you, or if it's somebody that you know that you love and they've done it to somebody, it's not your fault.
No.
You're still a good person. You still have a good family. You still have a good heart. You still have the best intentions in loving that person, especially if they were your son or your brother or your cousin or whatever. But you know, these issues need to be addressed, not just only to help other people, but for the healing process for the individual that went through it. You know, you have to have compassion for the person that had to endure the situation. I can't imagine being a mother and having to hear this about a man I married. You know what I mean? Like the guilty conscience that you must feel that the devil tries to put on you when it's not your fault has got to be absolutely excruciating. And for that 12-year-old little girl that was denied her truth for all those years, you know, because you, even though saw those red flags, wanted to protect your family member. The truth has to be told. Nothing can be right. No true healing can be right until the truth is prevailed in situations, period. And it will always prevail, no matter what. People need to feel vindication. And then you have to forgive, you know.
God is a God of justice. And it may have took her 10 years to get her justice, but she got her justice. And he not only brings justice, he brings, like I was telling you in the break, he brings healing to those that have been through this trauma. If you're watching and you've been through this trauma, I just pray that God heals you, and you have to allow him to do it, because otherwise you will stay bitter, you'll stay stuck, you'll stay in that trauma, and it will just be an ongoing merry-go-round of trauma, and then you'll attach yourselves to other people just like that. If you don't get healed and cut, it's like a soul tie. You're connected. If you don't cut it, then you're going to attract those same kind of people back into your life. And you have to protect not only yourself, but if you have children, whoever.
You can't enable the individual. They have to speak up and admit to what they've done wrong.
Exactly.
You know? And you went on to get your theology degree.
Yes, I have an advanced theology degree. I did that, and I just,
you feel like this situation got you closer to God?
Oh, definitely.
I would say
definitely. So. I mean, I was already, had a relationship with God, but when you're a mother and you feel like your children are in danger, you become that mother hen. And I knew I had no resources to protect my children. I'm a single mom. I didn't have a great job at the time. But I knew somebody that would be my defense, and that was God.
Amen.
So,
and you had someone prophesy over you, right?
Yes, the charity that it's actually missions. They do this. He actually came into my church. He has a orphanage in Guatemala. It's What Matters Ministry, and he goes around and preaches, but he also has this orphanage for children that have been in sex trafficked, in just abandoned kids that had no names, that were left on the streets.
God, yes.
He brings them in, and not only does he gives them Jesus, he gives them food, he gives them shelter, he also gives them education into college. So, like here in the United States, in orphanages, as soon as you're 18, get out the door.
And a lot of them end up on the streets.
Yes,
right.
But here, he keeps them until college. So they go on to become lawyers, doctors. They heal from the trauma and become something to better, their environment and their community.
He spoke a word over you.
He did. He spoke that there was a roof that was over me, and God gives different gifts to different people, and he was showing him something regarding my life and my children. And he said, that roof has been leaking over you, which the roof, represents your husband, your covering. And he said, but I am now your roof, and I will protect you, and I will protect your children all the days of their lives. And he didn't know what, we had been through, because he actually called us out as a family at this church service. And I mean, it just goes to show you God is real. He sees what you go through, and he will get you through it as long as you lean on him.
I don't think I tell you enough, but I really admire you. You're the mom, you're the dad. You do so well with your kids. I admire you too. You single moms, man. Go out. I mean, I'm so impressed, because I don't know what I'd do without my husband. I'll complain every once in a while, but really, I mean, you guys have a lot on you, and y'all are so strong. I mean,
we love you. Thank you.
I mean, seriously.
I say this because people say this a lot, and it's like, I was handed a deck of cards that I just had to learn to play differently than your cards.
Mm-hmm.
And it is God, though. For me, my strength is completely him, because I have a very similar story. And so it's definitely, it's only him. And that's where the strength comes from. It's definitely.
Yeah, because when you go through something like that, you could become like stuck in your mind and stuck in depression.
Mm-hmm.
But through him, you can get through it.
You don't have to stay there. It's okay to grieve, but you don't have to stay there.
Exactly.
And you guys stay tuned, because when we come back, we're going to talk about What Matters Ministries and Missions. So y'all stay tuned.
Yes.
When people stop talking to each other, society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
Edge Radio TV is holding auditions for new show hosts. Are you a subject matter expert, professional, influencer, book author, thought leader, or business owner with an educational or motivational platform? Then we want to meet you. Send a link of some of your work to edgeradio20@gmail.com and be sure to put audition in the subject line. Join the Edge Radio TV family. Edge TV, because truth still matters.
Welcome back to Edge Radio TV Network Women's Empowerment segment. We were just about to brush upon the What Matters Ministries and Missions. We are raising money now for this charity in an online auction. Can you give everybody just a little bit more information? So you did reveal a lot, but what else? I mean, what else can they
He's
get involved
just,
in?
him and his family, they're people of integrity. You know that this money is actually going to what it says.
Yes.
You can actually go to his website, whatmattersministry.com, and he'll show before and after pictures and videos. He shows all the land that he has out in Guatemala with the shelter, and then they actually do crops.
Agriculture.
And, yes, so that they can, a cheaper way to provide food for them. I've been sewing into this ministry for a few years now because my heart is for children, and it's for, you know, protecting them and giving them a better future.
Right.
And I mean, I only do $30 a month, but $30
But that does a lot over there.
A lot of people do that. I mean,
it does a lot over there. It really, really does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sewing. What if it was your child?
Exactly.
Is always my thought.
Mine too.
You would want somebody to sow into their lives.
Yes.
These children were left, abandoned, rejected, abused, and if you can help, a little bit goes a long way, especially in Guatemala. So.
Yeah,
I love that. I love everything that he's doing.
Yes.
That's great.
It is so sad how in the United States our orphan,
the way it's set up, it's just a business thing. It's nothing to do with, like, his heart is for this.
There's no heart in our country for a lot of things.
No,
it seems like.
But his heart is definitely in it, and he's just a true man of God that. He's doing what the Bible says, to take care of orphans and widows, and that's what he does.
Oh, that's so beautiful. So you guys can look for the online auction. We'll have it on my Halo PR Facebook page. You guys can follow Mariah Giddens on her Facebook page, especially if you have anything that you'd like to share with her that you feel like could help you. She's more than happy for you to reach out to her. Brooke will also be sharing it on her social media pages, so you guys can check it out. We have over 100 items on the online auction to choose from experiences to travel to electronic devices to something as simplistic as a sanitation kit. There's always ways to give back. You guys can bid, and then we'll shoot you an email to let you know if you won the top bid. And we're going to be raising some money for some very important children.
So good. I love raising money for children. I think I'm serious. I think all our charities are kids for something.
Yeah, that's true.
I just do love it.
Yeah, our Be an Angel fashion show as well. We've been talking about that a lot. That'll be at Burger and Bordeaux on May the 12th, and we'll be raising money for the disabled children of the Be an Angel charity. That's also an amazing charity. Dan Pestorini, that was the quarterback for the Houston Oilers, is the chairman for that charity, and Mr. Sam Malone is an advocate as well. They'll be out there that day. We'll have a day and evening wear of fashion. And you can also sponsor your business out there. So you can advertise your business. It'll be networking, mingling, fun, and the food is unreal.
The food is amazing. You know, I know about the food. Okay, it is all good.
It's so good. But, you know, it's so good to always... We share the survivor story, and we let it all out there, and you get so vulnerable, and you have to have such a brave heart to do this. And so I appreciate so much your time for coming on the show today and sharing it with everyone. I hope that it truly touched somebody out there and made a difference today. I really, really do, and I think it did.
I believe that it will. I think that the more it's talked about with other people coming forward with their survivor stories. I mean, I'm a survivor too. My kids are survivors. Like, it needs to be talked about so that other people can feel like they're going to be helped at the end of the day.
And there has to be healing to it. There has to be healing. Don't let the child go down a road where they're going to go down a road of destruction because they're self-medicating, because they've never revealed what truly happened to them as a child. It's really, really important that you address it. Don't brush it under the rug. And, if you have a compelling story that you want to come on here and share and want to choose a charity, I will be more than happy to help you raise money for that charity, and you can turn your pain over to passion. I love this show.
I love this show.
It's so good.
Come on, y'all. Seriously.
I mean, call me biased, but we're doing some good things around here.
I love it. I love helping people. I do. It's a passion.
We're going to go ahead and cut this session short, so you guys stay tuned for next week, the Women's Empowerment segment. And before we go, Brooke, tell everybody where they can find you for your real estate and notary services.
Brooke White on Facebook. I have blonde hair in the picture on that one.
Your hair is still a little blonde?
It faded. I know, it was dark like a month ago. It faded.
That's good. It looks good. You
Well,
can carry
thanks.
it off.
Thanks.
You're good,
But
girl.
Brooke White, and then, of course, my email, BrookeWhiteTexas, Gmail. Brooke White, Texas Realtor at gmail.com.
If you want to get entertained, follow her on TikTok.
Yeah.
Oh, TikTok. Brooklyn 31.
Like, wait a minute.
With an E. Okay, that's where it's
TikTok
really at.
too, don't you?
I do.
Okay, she's a TikToker too. We got a TikTok after the show.
So what's your TikToker name?
I
Is
don't
that what I'm
even
supposed to say?
know.
I know.
I can't remember.
I don't remember. I think it's Mariah Giddens. I don't remember what it is.
I don't know, girl.
I don't follow me.
She's
You'll
on
follow
Facebook. If you want to see her TikTok, she'll let you know when you message her.
Yeah.
And y'all please go like my Halo PR Facebook
Yes.
page. I can handle anything from marketing, media specialties to events, PR, you name it.
All of it. She's my publicist. I recommend her.
her.
I recommend her.
Got it.
Yeah. All right, guys. So stay tuned for next Friday for Women's Empowerment, and we'll see you guys then.
Bye.